All right, I'm probably on. Just give me 1 second, everyone. I gotta do a couple of little tweaks here. Oh, maybe I'm not on. There. I'll be on now. All right. I got a little bit, we're going to do a chat on Hurricane Irma, but I'm not the smartest person, and I kind of timed it when I have to do a live update on TV too. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do this, and I'm going to have to interrupt it for a second and then get back to it. I am on. Thank you, Michelle. I never know for sure. And you can hear me all right, hopefully. All right, so bring your questions. We have got lots of people already. Irma chat. So if you're just tuning in, I kind of timed this a little bad because I have to do an update. Danielle's going to tell me about it in just a minute here. I'm going to do a live update, but let's do this. And if you want to stick around and watch the live update, kind of get behind the scenes too, you can do that. So let's talk about Irma. Irma, Category 4 hurricane, obviously a lot of interest. We have almost 1,500 people watching already. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Wow. Hey, Steve. Hey, Stacy. I'm Steve. 1 minute?
1 minute.
Oh, boy. Okay. Let me just bring up the latest. So I'm going to do this. It's going to take like a minute or two, and then I'll come back and talk to everyone. But if you want to watch, I'll set the camera up there. You can kind of see behind the scenes and watch me do it in front of the green screen. And if you listen close, you may be able to hear part of the update too at the same time. 30 seconds. All right. Gotta love live TV. All right, so I'll be back in like a minute and a half, and if you want to stick around, that'd be great. Looks like it. I got 2,000 people watching now.
15.
Good evening, everyone. It's Steve Weagle. This is Steve Weagle. Here's an update on Hurricane Irma. Category 4, major hurricane moving closer to the Leeward Islands. And we have watches and warnings in effect for the islands, extending back into Puerto Rico. And we have a well-developed, structured hurricane that is just a little less than 500 miles away from the Leewards, and will move in with the outer bands overnight. It's roughly 1,600 miles away from South Florida and our coastline. And the track is, again, generally west the next 2 to 3 days. There's a look at the hurricane tonight. The larger eye forms. We're going through eye wall replacement cycles where the inner eye, the small eye, collapses, and then eye forms out Okay, thanks everyone for hanging around. So let's take a look at our storm. You probably saw some of the graphics that I went through. I'm going to try to answer some of your questions too. I'm going to take a look at this and see what's going on with this storm. Looks pretty impressive on the satellite loop tonight. So, someone said they were confused. I'm so confused. What am I watching? Well, you're watching me now. I was just doing, sorry about that, I was just doing a update on TV. And that's the green screen back there that you were watching. So, let's take a look at this and give you the very latest. There's a storm. You can see it on the satellite loop. Category 4, winds at 140, stronger wind gusts. Typically the wind gusts are about 10 to 15% stronger than the sustained winds. So we're looking at wind gusts around 150. It was a powerful hurricane. And at this point, the hurricane force winds stretch out about 40 miles. And the tropical storm force winds, I believe, are about 140 at this point, 140 miles out from the center. And it is a little over 400 miles away from the Leeward Islands. And there are watches and warnings in effect for the Leewards right now. And that's where we're first going to get an idea of what's going to happen. The outer bands, you can see just the outer fringes. I think I might be able to actually draw on this map here, kind of explain it a little bit better. So there's your, I need a better ruler. Oh, that's, maybe this will do it. There. So there's your outer bands, well, kind of. And so the high cirrus clouds. A couple of things since I'm kind of figuring out what's going on with this ruler. Let's see if this does it. No. Oh, well, I can point with the arrow. Okay, so hopefully you see that. Everything's delayed a few seconds, so it's a little confusing. But anyway, you can see my arrow now. So what goes on here is, if you've ever watched these storms, maybe let me bring up the loop here. Okay, this is kind of interesting. This is one of the things that really fascinates me with hurricanes. So hurricanes spin counterclockwise. This one you can see everything's just spinning around. But if you look closely at this and the outer edges, it's actually turning in the opposite direction. It's because there's high pressure aloft. Storms spin counterclockwise, winds spin counterclockwise, but for a perfect atmosphere for a hurricane, especially for strengthening, you have high pressure aloft. So the upper winds are actually spinning clockwise, indicating that the high pressure is aloft. And you'll notice it's very symmetrical. There's not much wind shear going on with this. And there's good outflow. What do I mean by good outflow? Well, see all the clouds streaming away from the center in actually all directions. That's outflow. The hurricanes are big engines, so they evaporate this warm water off of the Gulf of Mexico that comes into the storm, and then it's pushed out aloft in the atmosphere, and this whole cycle just continues. And if there are perfect conditions, you go from a tropical storm or a weak hurricane to this guy here, which is category 4 at this point. So you can see well-developed eye there, a well-protected storm. The red areas, those are cold cloud tops. This is all very rich tropical moisture. It's protecting from dry air getting entrained in this. Hurricane Jeanne, back in 2004, as it approached Florida, there was this little slot of dry air that tried to get near the center of it, and almost did. But that helped not weaken it, but keep it a little, stop it from intensifying even stronger. So Jeanne ended up being category 3, but it could have been a category 4. So there's the storm. So we're a little over 400 miles away from the Leeward Islands, and we are a little over 1,600 miles away from South Florida, which 10, 15 years ago would be a long, long way. But now, with hurricane forecasting, it is actually pretty, well, not close, but it's, you know, we have a pretty good idea, even 1,500, 1,600 miles out, generally where a storm is heading. So there's another look at the eye. Now the eye's see how the eye has actually grown quite a bit larger today. Been going through what we call eye wall replacement cycles. So there's a small inner eye that eventually just physically has to collapse, has to, I don't want to say disintegrate, but it collapses, and an outer eye forms and the inner one disappears. And that's what's happened today. That's why that eye is a lot larger than it was yesterday. So you see on the left-hand side of the screen, that is the Leeward Islands. So you have St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, St. Martin, and here's the forecast track. So there's Tuesday at 2 p.m., and then we get into Wednesday. I want to try to answer some of your questions here too. Thank you everyone for joining in. Hopefully, I want everyone to go away here, learning something and getting a better idea of what's going on with this. It's a holiday weekend, so probably you want to know the latest on this. So there's Friday at 2 p.m., 130 mile an hour winds. I think I'm actually watching the wrong thing here. There. That might help. And then a little farther out in time, there's the 5-day position. So that is, just push this down. That is Saturday afternoon. Now at 11 o'clock tonight, we're going to get a new update from the Hurricane Center, a new track, a new intensity forecast, and you'll notice here, if I use my arrow again, that parts of South Florida are starting to get in the cone. So right now it is Broward, it is Miami-Dade, and it is Boca. But at 11 o'clock tonight, that's going to include more Palm Beach County. That's pretty much guaranteed. I'd put my money on that. The interesting thing that we'll have to watch, well, the Hurricane Center is going to be forced to make a more distinct turn, I think, to the north at 11 o'clock. Because the models tonight, here are the model runs coming in this evening, so we're 9 o'clock. So we have quite a few of them. Now remember the Euro, which does an excellent job and has a 5-day forecast error of, I believe, 170, 180 miles, which is exceptional. That's on here too. That'll update at 3 in the morning. The GFS, the 18Z, just came in a while ago. And some of the other models. You'll notice the UK Met is way, way up there. It's an outlier. And I've also put the official forecast with the icons on there too. You can see the 4 and the line. That's the official forecast from the Hurricane Center. And look at that big turn. Now why does it turn like that? Well, there's the high pressure system, the Bermuda High, which is north of the Bahamas, more toward Bermuda. And then there's this trough that's coming down across the U.S. And I just looked at some of the latest runs on this trough, and it dives down, but it lifts pretty quickly too. So we're gonna it's all a timing issue at this point. But you'll notice a couple of things here. You could change the color of this ruler. Oh, I can. Let me change it to white. It'll just be easier to see. So there we go. So this is the Euro right here. And it keeps the storm just offshore. And when I say just offshore, I mean just offshore. A few miles. Not much. I think it followed exactly that track. I don't think the Hurricane Center would make a landfall for this area. But the GFS has shifted. The same landfall spot it had earlier around Biscayne Bay, but it's more now around Lake Okeechobee, whereas earlier it was closer to the coastline. So that's one of the issues that we're watching too. Oh, you can, there's Michael Williams. Yeah, I'm just doing a Facebook Live. Yeah. So just, you're probably doing some updates.
We're just getting some stuff kind of pre-taped.
Yeah, so and Michael and I were talking earlier, it's easy to concentrate on these tracks and focus on certain lines, but that's not the way to look at this. You really have to, these tracks are going to continue to shift back and forth for the next few days.
Well, and it's like we said, maximum preparation, but also an understanding, as you point out, that depending on where the wind field on this thing is it's easy for us all to get mesmerized by it, but there's so many variables there, and the best thing all of us can do is listen to the experts like you. And we've got the best technology, and just be as ready as we can be and always should be. And we're going to be with you every step of the way.
Yeah.
But I think that, there's so much technology out there in terms of the modeling. It's easy to sort of get, mesmerized on it. But
yeah, and overwhelmed at the same time.
A little bit.
Yeah. You kind of have to sift through a lot of the information. And
well, and Steve, you pointed out too, as good as the models are, you generally over the years, as I've talked to you, 3 days out, you have a pretty vigorous confidence all the time.
Yeah.
Beyond that, there's a lot of variables, and it gives us a general sense, but a general sense is not a specific sense. So that's why we stay in all the way. 3 days out, always a pretty darn good sense.
There's out Wednesday at noon, everything, it's almost one line right on top, and even out to Friday. But then we start to see this split, and it doesn't look like much of a split, but it can make a huge difference on what we see here.
Well, and I said to you earlier, from a layman's perspective, I've gone and chased storms where a 60-mile arc of where I was versus where the brunt of the storm hit can make all the difference. So we have to be ready in all the scenarios, but no computer system yet that far out can do anything more than do what it's doing for us now. Give us a very good general sense that we need to be ready and have, again, preparation in place, and then let you all fine-tune the models as they come down.
Yeah.
But to get stuck on any line doesn't do anything. And you preach that all the time. Steve's and I'm not saying this, folks, for you watching on Facebook Live. I'm not blowing smoke. I've been doing this a long, long time. I've chased more storms than I can count. This gentleman is the best at consolidating the information, giving it to you unvarnished. I compliment you for that, Steve, in a calm fashion, and we see where the science and the models take us, and we prep as best we can. And that's all any of us can do.
Well, I think people just have to look at the banner. It's guidance. It's not an official forecast. It's not what's going to happen. It just guides us in some of the scenarios.
I know you're interestingly looking at some other things happening
with
other wind patterns as well.
We were
so
talking about
so many variables.
Yep, there is. I don't want to keep you. I know you.
No, I know, but we'll let you get back to it. And I know that they all want to talk to you. But we'll have a full coverage at 11, and we're going to go prep for that. We'll get ready. So thanks for letting me drop in for 2 seconds. You're in the best hands you can be in, folks.
Thank you, Michael. All right, so there's a look at the tracks, and some of these tracks will continue to come in during the evening hours, and so at this point it's really, monitor this very closely. Even if one of these tracks doesn't verify or anything close, it's still a few days away, and we still have to watch it very, very closely. And what those tracks don't show you is that the hurricane intensity is very strong. GFS and the European have very strong storms coming close to South Florida, so that is something to keep in mind too. So this is the GFS. Now this is the latest run. That's Sunday. So we have the high pressure system, which is bringing it west, and then we have this trough back in the southeast that we're hoping will pick it up and turn it. The problem is the timing is such that as it turns, it has an impact on Florida. So if that trough misses it, it would continue more into the Gulf and be less of a threat. And if the trough is a little faster, or if the hurricane slows down a little, then we have an issue where we could see the storm turn toward the east. So there's still a lot of questions. And there's another big, big question, and that's the mountains of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. So we'll go back a couple of frames here. Look at the track here. So this is out, not so much there, but here. So we're about 50, 60 miles off the coast of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Should that storm track 50 miles south, it would get torn apart very quickly by those mountains of Haiti, Dominican Republic, and even eastern Cuba has some pretty solid mountains too. So, and even just the interaction with land in general would help weaken it. So that's something to keep in mind too. So I think that's about it. I'll go back and try to answer some of your questions. I just see someone said, any chance of it being a Category 5? Absolutely. When you look at all the ingredients for intensity, that would be wind shear. There's not much in the next 4 to 5 days. Water temperatures get even warmer, high 80s. There's not a whole lot stopping it from intensifying even more, even though that's not the official forecast. It is possible. Intensity forecasts are very tricky. There are two pieces of information, valuable pieces, that the Hurricane Center gives you. It tells you where the storm's going to be, Friday 2 p.m., and also tells you how strong it's going to be. And they do an excellent job with the track forecast, but the intensity forecasts are an issue. They're the first ones to recognize that. Really, in the last decade, not much improvement has been made in intensity forecasting. So I always tell people, you know, there's Friday at 2 p.m. Best bet it's a Category 4, but it could be a 3 or it could be a 5. That's possible too. Do you find a sharp turn? I'm losing questions here. I'm sorry. It's so, that questions scroll so much, so fast that it's hard to read. Well, thank you everyone for thanking me. I do see those. Puerto Rico is definitely an area that's going to have to watch this closely, very closely, because it is, the forecast at 5 doesn't have a landfall, but it's close enough to be concerned, and it's far enough away from Puerto Rico that even a small change now in the track direction would make a big difference a couple of days from now. So something to keep in mind. So a lot of questions here. A lot of questions. Where's the direct hit? Very difficult to say. But I will tell you this. You'll want to watch this one, monitor it all week and weekend. And if it has any impact on our weather, it does look like the weekend. It looks like it'll be later Saturday, peaking on Sunday, still not very good conditions on Monday as far as a worst case scenario, but there's still lots of time to watch this. And 11 o'clock is going to be interesting because we'll see if the Hurricane Center starts to turn that track toward Florida, which I believe they will because the new model run's coming in tonight. I don't see why they would argue against those. And I think more of our area will be in the error cone at 11. I think that's pretty much guaranteed at this point too. So keep that in mind. All right, I will let you go because I got to get ready for a newscast. But hopefully I gave you a little bit of help. I might have one more graphic to show you. I wanted to show you. There's the GFS. So there's the latest GFS on Sunday. It has right over Florida, major hurricane, with hurricane force winds in our area, and then the European also has hurricane force winds, but the center is just off the coast. So that's Sunday too. So it's one to watch, and as we get a little bit closer, keep in mind that that you'll want to keep up to date on this every day. So thanks for joining, and we will see you at 11 o'clock tonight. Really appreciate everyone joining me, and I will definitely go through and read some of your questions and comments. So cheers. Hope you had a great holiday weekend. And let's keep up to date with this together and watch it. And hopefully it turns or keeps going south.